now I've got the 4 variables that I want from the 4 different rows in the configuration sheet. We've got the research topic, so this is the thing that I'm going to be asking the AI to write the blogs about. We've then got the target audience, we've got our research prompt and our email system prompt, so that's great. Now at the moment, that data isn't really in a usable format by NAN. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to transform this data into a format where we can actually output variables for each of those different rows. Because at the moment, NAN is going to sort of like treat it as each individual row individually, and it's going to try and loop through it. But we don't want to do that. So in this code node, we can basically run some code to save each of the rows as a variable, and then we can use them later on in the workflow. Okay, so what I've done here is I've pasted in a code snippet which will basically take all of the input from this previous node, and it will save all the variable names in a dictionary that we can then use for later on in the workflow. So let's run this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Just to avoid this node rerunning over and over again, I'm going to pin this data. That should be useful. Now let's run this step. So when you run this code snippet, it will basically take all the different rows from the Google Sheets data that's come back, and it will save it in this dictionary here, and it will save it against variable names that are basically descriptive of what the actual row name was in the Google Sheet. So this is perfect. Now we can reference these in the rest of our workflow. So let me save this. Right, the next thing that we need to do is we can now start diving into the Perplexity API. So for Perplexity, Perplexity is an amazing tool. It's essentially a deep research AI assistant, agent, API that you can use. And you can give it a prompt, such as, I want you to research this company or this industry or this particular topic, and it will go out and it won't do sort of like a basic kind of like search based on its knowledge base, similar to how ChatGPT used to. It will actually go out and look for information on the internet, and it will conduct deep research. If you've got one of the paid versions of ChatGPT, you'll notice now that it has like a deep research module within it that you can enable. So it's actually very similar to that, but Perplexity were really the kind of pioneers in that kind of deep research area. So if you're looking to craft some content around a particular topic or a particular area of interest, Sonar by Perplexity can do exactly that. And it's really powerful, relatively cheap as well, especially if you're just doing it at a small scale, and will save you loads of time. So for reference, this is the API that we're going to use. Now, Perplexity doesn't have a built-in node within NAN, but that's fine. We can just make a HTTP request. What we're going to do is we're going to copy the URL. I'm going to copy it from here, and we're going to make a post request. So let's change this to post. Here's the URL. It wants us to pass our API key in the header, so that's absolutely fine. Let me copy these as headers. In fact, I'm just going to copy all this and then sort of butcher it when I get back over into here. Alright, so authorization, bearer token. Yeah. So I'll add my token in just a moment. Cool, that's fine, happy with that for now. And then it wants us to send a body as well. And the body needs to contain information about the model, so we're going to be using the Sonar model here, and then messages. So do we want to prompt the system with any kind of like contextual grounding information, and do we want to provide any sort of like a user prompt as well? So if I come back over to here, we want to send body, we want to send it as JSON, and I'm going to just write it in as JSON. So for this, I'm going to copy a snippet that I actually used before. So here is an example of the body that we can send. There's a whole bunch of parameters that I've kind of set here as well. Obviously, you can play around with these. You can change them and tune them based on your needs. And you can see that I've just added like a template essentially for the system prompt and the user prompt.